Spiral throwers, welcome back. Today we are reviewing another U Sports ball by Wilson. This is the F2000, at least that's what the ball says and the website from which I got it says. But there's more to the story. I'm going to put up the vendor from which I purchased this from. The Wilson U Sports official game football. What do you notice about that ball? I have a broken in one from Caleb here. Right? U Sports ball. F2000. You can see that there. Something has changed though. This ball has the full stripe and is sewn in on both sides. All four panels have the stripe sewn in. The model, as you can see on the screen, is actually WTF2000. Interesting. Let's talk about this a little bit. This stripe is much the same as the one that's seen on the GST. GST Prime has this stripe. A number of Wilson balls have it stitched in. The Omega has it as well. And lengthwise, widthwise, it's about the same. Very, very similar. This may actually be a little wider than the GST stripe. Make a comparison here, see what you think. Hard to tell because this GST has been played with so many times, and the red one obviously yet to see any game action. Silhouette very similar. It's identical to the silhouette of the F2000. This is, I think, what you would expect from a CFL ball as opposed to a GST. You can see here that ball on the F2000, one panel is Wilson F2000. This panel is the Wilson GST W. Other panel, more or less the same. You be the judge of that. This is a nice ball. I've noted on the channel a bunch that I like the white stripe on balls. And this one, obviously, with the full stripe all the way around, almost perfect in terms of quality control, panel to panel. The stripe, as I mentioned before, is done by machine, but this is still inspected by somebody and set up by somebody and all those different things, and it looks really, really top notch. You really can't complain or argue that this is anything but very well done. The leather's red leather, similar to what you see on the Duke or onto the, on the F2000, the standard one. I'm sure this will break in really nice. I'll note that I didn't ask marchands, I should be able to say that in French probably, marchands, for a ball with some nice lace nubs, and so I got what I deserved here, but gotta be honest with you, don't feel like it matters because your hands have so much to stick to on both sides of the ball that it just doesn't, it's not going to make that big a difference, especially once the ball is broken in. A couple of things I will note, and these are maybe nitpicks from me, but I'll say them anyways because many of you will be buying this presumably and breaking it in yourself. I haven't done it yet, but I will tell you that when I brush a ball, I generally try and take broad, long strokes for two reasons. One, because I think it's a little faster, but two, and maybe more importantly, it preserves my shoulder a bit, it feels like. So I try and brush this way, right? Long strokes. I hold it against my chest sometimes. Other times I hold it a little lower and brush with my finger down on the brush. This is easy to do on this ball because two of the panels are free of striping. These top panels obviously are not, and you can brush these stripes if you like. I generally don't these days just because I'm not sure how well they're going to hold up against that brush all the time. If you look online, one of the complaints you do see about these GSTs and any of the balls with sewn in stripes is that those stripes are not quite as durable. In terms of like tackiness quotient, or whatever research and development term these guys use, they're very good. In terms of stitching, they're very good. But in terms of hitting that brush all the time, I'm not sure they'll hold up. So like I said, on this brush, you can take long strokes. On the F2000, you don't even have to worry about that. You can take long strokes across every panel because the stripes are just painted on. But on the F or WTF 2000, it's going to take a while to get used to calling it that, you can't. So you're kind of stuck brushing I guess you'd say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 panels potentially, if you're very careful about that stripe. That may or may not be for you. I don't know. One of the other concerns I have with GSTs in general is that sometimes it feels like the striping, the white striping, is sewn a little too high. So for example, if I look at the striping on this GST, it does look a bit high in my opinion. This could be just in my head. I readily and fully admit as much. But if you look at that striping, it looks a little high. You can see quite a bit of dirt is accumulated underneath the stripe. And even though the stripe hasn't lost any quality or lost any tackiness or is not coming off and all these things, it does add girth to the ball. And so some people, I've seen guys throw with their fingers on the stripe, and I think it could take away from your grip if you have smallish hands. I don't have that problem, even though my hands are a little small, but I could imagine that it might be a problem for some. So when you have a ball with the striping on all 4 panels, what you really want to see is the striping stay low to the panel itself. Now, I think they've done that here. Now, you tell me if you think that that is actually sewn on at a quote-unquote lower grade than the GST that's broken in my other hand. I think it's very, very low. And so it doesn't add almost any girth to the ball all the way around. It's like impossibly narrow. I don't know if Wilson did that on purpose because they know that people are going to be holding this there. But to me, if they did do that on purpose, that's a stroke of genius, because really the last place you want extra girth on the ball is near the nose. Why, Joey? That's where the stripe is. Where you why wouldn't you want it there? Well, because if you're holding the ball at the end, what you want is to be able to kind of come down as far as you can with your finger. And if everything else is a little higher up, your finger's not gonna be able to get down that low. It's just the way just the way it is, and you'll feel that big time if you buy a ball that's a little bit bigger in girth or that has a higher stripe. Great example of this would be, in my opinion, the Vapor 1, the Nike Vapor 1, which you can buy at Sport Check here in Canada, other places as well. Mass-produced ball, and that stripe is way high, adds tons of girth to the ball. It makes it harder to throw. That's my opinion, but I think it's hard to deny that girth on the tip of the ball is not your friend if you're a quarterback. Maybe if you're a receiver, but definitely not a quarterback. In terms of fit and finish, like I said, this ball is not crate dug. I know some of you guys have accused Wilson of crate digging balls for this channel. They don't, believe me, okay? I'm not that big a deal. But this one is not crate dug. And like I said, in terms of QC, this is about as good as you're gonna get. You would expect to see some changes sort of in the alignments, panel to panel, for the white striping, but you see barely any. You could maybe make a case there's a little there where my finger is, but panel to panel, it's more or less flawless. And of course, there's no imperfections, blemishes on the leather. It's the usual Wilson wax, Wilson tack. It's all baked in, nothing to worry about. You brush it away, you shave and cream it if you like, blah, blah, blah. Many options for you as someone who's breaking in a ball. The logo, obviously very well done. I continue to be a huge fan of the gold foil on these balls. I really like the way that looks, regardless of which Wilson ball that you buy. And as I mentioned, even though the laces don't have my favorite nubs, actually it's negative nubbing here. Yeah, not great. There's a couple of jokes I could make, but this is a family channel. It doesn't, like I said, really matter, because you're holding this ball, and everywhere you try and pull, whether it's down with your middle finger, it's caught by the stripe. Whether it's down, see if I can change the angle here. Whether it's down with your thumb, you're caught by the stripe. And so you don't have to worry about that ring finger or middle finger, whatever finger you like there, being taken off the lace, because the lace can't hold it. It's being held by other stuff. Really nice product. The best part is that this is, depending on which vendor you go to, you can go to the Marchand's website and pull it up, but this is the same price or even a little cheaper than a regular F2000. Don't ask me how, don't ask me anything about that. I really have no idea, but I just want to give a shout out to the guy who put me onto this ball, sent me an email and said, have you seen this thing? This is available on this website, and I'm not going to mention his name, like I said, but great tip. Go check it out if you haven't. I think this ball could be worth your time. Again, you're talking about the F2000 silhouette, right? Very similar dive from the nose to the laces on both balls. Just, it's an easy ball to hold, with the benefits of course, the GST stitched inlays. on all 4 panels. You gotta love that. And I think your receivers, especially in the rain, because that leather is a little bit different, will probably love it too. So give it a look. Let me know what you think. Again, not too many downsides, just that brushing, maybe if you're obsessed with not getting it on the panel, or not getting on the stripe, I should say, but otherwise, like, I bet you this is gonna be tough to beat in terms of game quality balls. So leave your questions in the comments. Hit me up with any suggestions for other balls to review. I get a lot of suggestions for the Dime Lab balls. I'm not doing it. It's a composite ball. It's gonna feel like shit. So don't waste your time. If you're gonna buy a ball, especially one that's gonna cost you $70, $80 after shipping, go with something a little more high quality, especially you American people who have tons of options up there compared to what we have here. So anyway, that's it. Happy throwing. Enjoy your stripe.